Okay, well, just to be mindful of our time this afternoon, let's go ahead and get started. Just would like to welcome everybody again. Thank you for taking your time for taking the time for joining us today. My name is Fernando, and I'm with the Region 9 Head Start Association, and I'm just really happy to be here and be your webinar host for this afternoon. So if you have any questions regarding the session, any logistical questions about Zoom, connections, anything like that, feel free to put your questions in the chat box, and I'll do my very best to address them behind the scenes and assist you as fast as I can. Today's webinar session will be recorded and will be made available for on-demand consumption early next week. Once the recording is ready for access, participants will be able to watch it up on our YouTube channel. Two follow-up emails will go out to all registered attendees. One of the emails will go out soon after we conclude our session this afternoon, and that email will include a certificate of participation. I know most of you like to keep track of your PD hours, so watch for that email soon after we finish our session this afternoon with a certificate of participation. And a second email will go out next week, and that email will contain a link to this recording so you can go back and watch all this great information. So watch for those two emails regarding this session this afternoon. We encourage your participation today, so feel free to use the chat and Q&A to send us your comments and questions, and we'll do our very best to address them at the end of the presentation if time permits. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Jasmine Taylor from Kindly. And I wish everybody you enjoy this session this afternoon, and I would like to thank Jasmine for her time. And take it away, Jasmine. Thank you.
Hi, Fernando. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. How are you doing? I see a lot of activity in the chat. We're going to just jump right in. I'm going to share my screen. Want to welcome you to this webinar where we're going to really talk about how to increase family engagement and in kind while we're virtual. And this is really going to set us up for success when we're not virtual anymore. So we're going to really dive into this topic with the major goal of less focus on forms and more focus on families. Does that sound good to you guys? If that sounds good, let me see a little activity in the chat. Could anybody use a little less focus on forms and more focus on family? I know when I think about family engagement, I get super excited, but I also know that when it comes to in-kind, right? The struggle is real. The struggle is real. So we're going to get to talk all about that today. First, I just want to check in and see how everybody's doing. So Fernando has a little poll for us. It's a weather report. You know how we are, us educators. So just want to see how everybody's doing today. Rainbows, sunny and bright, clear skies, overcast, stormy, right? We could be all over the place. How are you today? I'm going to give you guys just a sec to complete the poll. Keep it's up for a few more seconds. Feel free. It's bright and sunny where I am, and I'm feeling like rainbows to get to share with you guys today. So I'm doing really great. And tomorrow's my birthday, so even better there. I'm not going to tell you how old, but tomorrow's my birthday. I'm excited about that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's super fun to get to spend my birthday eve with you guys. Thank you so much. Happy birthday to all the April birthdays, all the Taurus. Okay, so most of us are doing really good. We've got 1% that's stormy and overcast. And so I'm hoping that what we're going to share today is going to help brighten your day a little bit wherever you're landing right now. So thanks for just taking a minute to check in. And thanks again for all the birthday wishes. I really appreciate that. So we're going to kind of pop on into our presentation. I'm Jasmine Taylor. I'm super excited to be with you. I'm the founder of Kindly and really, really thrilled to share this pioneering innovation with you all. I'm also not a slide reader. So I'm going to allow you guys to read the slides, and I'll just sort of ad lib a little bit and give you some context and a little bit of texture. So like I said earlier, I'm here in Southern California now, coming to you from Marina Del Rey. I'm a Southern Cal girl, born and raised in Compton, California. Went to USC, where I studied nonprofit management with an emphasis on education, and I've been in education and nonprofit leadership ever since. That's the first dot there at the bottom of the little red location finder. I see Long Beach is in the house. Woo, woo. Okay, I also see we got a fellow Trojan. Fight on. The other two dots, the other two locations on that chart are Arlington, Virginia, and Jaipur, India. And those are the other two headquarters for Kindly. So the first headquarters is right here at my desk, and the second is in Arlington, Virginia, where our development team lives. And then also we have a secondary development team of 24 in Jaipur, India. And those are the folks that have really helped me to breathe life into this concept. It was established in 2019, where when I was an assistant executive director at a foundation that had about 548 early Head Start slots. We also had home base and partnership grant as well. We did McVie, we did Hippie, we had it all. But it was the in-kind that when I came on board was, very clear that this was a challenge. And so, this really came out of my own personal need, but I very quickly saw that this would be a solution, not only for my team at Sunrise. When I was there, I'm not there now. But when I was there, I saw very quickly that this will be a solution for us. And then it could also be a new industry standard. And as an educator, I think one of the main differences that I brought to the table was this lens of family engagement. And that's what I'm excited to talk to you about today. It wasn't just about processing in kind. While I wanted efficiency and I wanted to save time and headache for my staff, the heart of what I wanted to put together was a software that captured the heart of why in-kind exists, and that is child development. So in my mind, the question was, how do we bring all of those pieces together? And so how we got started at Sunrise was, I started to sort of connect the dots to see where were the disconnects. And I very quickly realized that we had a really, really solid solution. We annually were generating about $236,000 in kind every year. And that was over the course of about 10 years of having this grant. And so that meant, you guys know it, an in-kind waiver. Every year we're submitting this in-kind waiver. And I was committed that for the first time under my leadership that we would not have to submit an in-kind waiver. I remember the day I went into my executive director's office and declared this, and he nodded. He smiled. He said, "Oh yeah, you're new. It's okay, but go ahead, go forth and conquer." And when we implemented Kindly in September of 2019, we hit the ground running, and with a particular formula that I call the 4 E's in mind. And it was uber successful. By the end of October, so September and October, by the end of October, we had hit $285,000 in kind. So we exceeded what we had generally took us a year to create. We exceeded that goal in 2 months. And for the first time that year, Sunrise did not have to submit an in-kind waiver. The thing that stands out to me is not the in-kind, the dollar, even though we all can appreciate that. But can you imagine and just envision that dollar amount represents a dramatic increase in the number of hours that parents were spending with their children? And that is what excited me and my team. So that's a little bit about us and how we got started. I'm going to dig into those 4 E's today, because whether you choose to use Kindly or not, the 4 E's can really help you to shift perhaps how you're looking at in kind and really dramatically increase your family engagement. So we're going to get into that. But first, I want to learn a little bit about you guys. So we have another poll that's going to pop up on the screen. Would love to just know where you're joining us from. So I'm going to give you a little second to complete that poll. I wish I had some Jeopardy music for you, but we can hear it in our minds. Go ahead and select. Are you calling in today, zooming in today from California, from Nevada, Arizona, Hawaii? And if it's other, put it in the chat. I'm going to look at the chat while everybody is voting. Oh my gosh, Montana, Oregon, Michigan, Florida, Washington, Detroit, Michigan, Chicago, Alabama, Florida, North Carolina, Jackson, Georgia. Oh my gosh, from all over. This is fantastic. Maui, I'm coming to visit Maui, Michigan, San Diego. You guys are right down the street. All right, Kansas, California. Hi, everybody. Wonderful. I think our poll results are coming up. Okay, there we go. So we've got 23% other. We've got 4 people from Hawaii, 17 from Arizona, 4 from Nevada, and 81 from California, right here in Southern California. You guys can come and hang out with me at the beach one day. We'll have a beach party. That'll be fun. I've actually been gone from Southern California for about 16 years. Like I just said, I was with Sunrise in Nevada for a few years, and we recently, my family and I, returned to Southern California. It's so good to be home. And we were all over. We were in Maryland. So shout out to my Maryland folks. We lived in New York, in London, Germany, Texas. We were in Dallas, Texas. Any Dallas, Texas folks here? We were in Dallas, Texas for about 8 years, and then Nevada, and now we're back home. You know, there's nothing like being home. All right, next poll question. Are you listening with your team today? Or is it just you? Are you the mighty one that's going to take this information back to your organization? So I'll let you take that poll real quick. I also saw in the chat, how do I get my certificate? And Fernando can handle that. All the certificates are going to be emailed out, I believe is what he said, after the training is complete. So is it just you? Are you with a team? Are you flying solo? Just helps to have some context of who all we're talking to today. Looks like the poll is still going. All right. Okay, so lots of teams. Oh my gosh, 95 flying solo. Okay, so you guys are gonna be the fearless pioneers. Okay, to take this back. Flying solo. Anna in the chat said solo. Awesome. Okay. Well, that gives us a little context to who's with us today. And I'm just going to jump right in. So again, I'll give you a chance to learn a little bit about us, mission, beliefs, and vision. But I really want to just give you some context, you know, as an early Head Start administrator, part of the heart of this work for me was about making sure that we could impact families and empower our parents and empower our staff. So this might sound familiar, but one of the E's is educate. I'm just going to give you a little sneak preview of that. One of the E's is educate. And when I started to put this whole, you know, plan and strategy together, I was doing some focus groups. I was talking to staff. Sunrise had been around for 27 years, and we had a teacher that had been there for that entire time. And she was one of the first ones who, during this education phase, right, during this time where we're taking time to really help the staff understand why we do in kind, who says we have to do in kind, what counts as in kind. She explained that she never understood it. And imagine that if your staff don't understand, then it's very difficult for them to then pass that information on to our parents, right? And so I had in mind that the heart of this needed to really stem from the inside out, and empowering people, empowering staff, empowering families, and then empowering administrators with information, right? And so when we have all of those things together, we can really start to make a difference. And that's, you know, really no matter where you're landing. So speaking of that, one more, I think we have 2 more polls. Are you early Head Start, or both? And so we'll do a quick check-in there. And while you're doing that poll, I'll just kind of continue a little bit with how we came about. And so as I was talking to people and I'm understanding, you know, there's this gap, right, between what people understand as in kind, what counts as in kind. And I'm encountering, you know, this theme that reading logs is where we land. Whenever you ask people about what is in kind, they're going to talk to you about a reading log. And that was one of the first places where I realized there was a disconnect, because whether you're Head Start or early Head Start, there's so much more that counts as in kind that we can capture and help parents to understand how they can make an impact. So let's look at our poll results and see. All right. Okay, so we're almost 50-50 here. And within your programs, both early Head Start, partnership, whatever those are, what would you say are your main in-kind challenges? One of the challenges I saw was that gap in education, which impacted the engagement. But oftentimes tracking is a problem. Parent engagement is a problem, staff engagement. And then on the administrative side, reporting and monitoring are also challenges. And if there's something outside of that realm, feel free to put that in the chat. We'd love to see it. But usually, you know, we find that it's going to fall in kind of one of these buckets eventually. Essentially. So I see something in the chat. I'm going to pop over here. Parents turning it in. Yeah, Jessica says staff engagement too. Absolutely. Finding areas to collect more in kind, parents with no internet access, absolutely, or computer access. I find that all the time. A little of all of the items listed. Absolutely. And you know, the thing about it is, we all are facing the same challenges and the same headache. But why don't you look at that? 77% say parent engagement. And that is what I saw over and over and over in our centers. At Sunrise, we have 15 locations, and that was the theme across the board. And so I think, you know, as we look at this sort of context here, that we're going to find that this 4E's formula is going to really help to improve the way the outcome that we're getting and the way that you're looking at in kind. Jean said, all the possibilities of different in kind and the worth of those different in kind donations. Absolutely, absolutely. And we're going to touch on all of those things. So when I put together this 4E's, it was after talking to all of the different stakeholders. I mean, at every level. And what I have to share with you today is now a proven strategy. One of the things when I first shared it with the Region I Head Start Association about a year ago, Ed, who's the executive director, shared, he said during that Zoom, he said, Jasmine, this is more than accounting software. This is a movement, because when you can empower families and when you can get families engaged, you are changing the landscape of not only that center and that child's life, but the fabric of the community surrounding that center. And I said, you know what, Ed, I couldn't have said it any better. So let me just dig into those 4E's. So are you ready? Got your pen and paper? Actually, you don't need pen and paper because these slides are going to get delivered to you. But the first thing was educate, and we talked about what that is a little bit already. One of the things I will share is that this piece cannot be overlooked. So oftentimes we want to jump into, you know, what are the activities? What are the actions? And we're not really pausing to make sure that everybody is even on board with understanding why we need to do this. What I found is that once people understood the why, now the light bulbs come on and they're like, yes, okay, I get it. This makes sense. Otherwise, in kind or non-federal share, all the terminologies that just, you know, sort of people's eyes gloss over and they're like, what in the world is this? And once we can educate them and we really make sure that they get it in terms that they can understand, we are now cooking with gas. The second thing you want to do is make it easy. Now, Easy comes in a couple of different forms with Kindly. Just the fact that we're going paperless makes it easy. The fact that it's in the palm of your hand makes it even easier. You can access the system. Parents can access the system on their cell phone. They can access the system on a tablet, a computer. We had tablets set up and in-kind stations set up where if parents didn't have their own technology, they can use it. Of course, that's when we're in the center and we're live. But most everybody's going to have a cell phone. Now, when you think about the cell phone, I also took into consideration, we know a lot of our parents, their numbers are going to change because their phones are going to constantly be changing. And so we made sure that that was not going to be a barrier to helping them be able to access the system. So there's no app that you need to download. All you do is go to kindlyhub.com. It's a web-based app, which means you don't have to go to the Play Store or iTunes or to download anything. You just simply go to the website, and then you can access it, the full functionality of the system on any device that you're working from. So make it easy. That was the next thing that we needed to do. The website again is kindlyhub.com, and I'll just put that in the chat. Because you can be taking a look at it if you want to while I'm chatting. Kindlyhub.com. Kindly Hub, because it becomes, the system now becomes this hub where administrators, teachers, parents, center directors, education managers, all the people can be your finance team, your fiscal team, your CFO or your finance director. Everybody can now sort of meet in this one hub, and all of our in-kind can live there. So easy for the parents, easy for administrators, easy for your staff, the center directors, the family advocates. I mean, just easy across the board. And then the third E is explain. What I also realized is in this conversation with people about in-kind was they didn't understand what the goal was. What is the overarching goal? What's the big goal? And then what's the goal for my center and my location? What's the goal for me as a parent, for my family? And people weren't doing a great job of explaining all those different pieces. So one of the first things I did was transition how I was talking to families about in-kind goals. For Sunrise at the time, $1 million in in-kind was our goal. I thought, I can't tell parents that. I can't tell parents we got to raise $1 million because people check out from the beginning because they think, oh my gosh, who's doing that, right? I translated that to hours. And when I did some math and came up with this formula, that translated to 50,000 hours. That's a much more attainable goal. Does that sound better, guys? You can put that in the chat. If I said, hey, we need to generate 50,000 hours or $1 million, which one sounds like the more doable thing, right? Yeah, Dolores said, yes, absolutely. So I wanted to explain it in a way that made it seem doable. And then I broke that hour down from an agency goal of 50,000 hours and divided that across our centers and across our home-based program so that one home visitors bucket would be like a classroom. And then each center and each classroom also had their own individual goals. So a teacher could now embrace, oh, my classroom needs 300 hours. And a center could embrace, oh, my center needs 1,500 hours. And all of a sudden, people were excited. They were like, yes, we can do this. We can absolutely make this happen. And there was also a little friendly competition that got started in this process. So now classrooms are competing and centers are competing and parents are engaged, and the outcome was phenomenal. That's how we got to engagement. We educated people, we made it easy, we explained it in a way that made it feasible, and you can do all of those things. You can do all of those things even without the software. You can really look at any one of these three things and implement them in maybe a unique way that's more intentional or just different than how you've been doing it, and you're going to see an increase in engagement. The system, of course, is the icing on the cake, the paperless part, right? And this is why the title in this virtual world comes into play, because now we don't need the paper forms, right? The software allows us to take these concepts and then go paperless with them. Before I jump into paperless, I want to just address a question that often comes up, and that is, how do we get parents to really engage in this process? We're making it easy, but there's another step. And this is the kindly secret sauce. I call it every day in kind. Instead of presenting this in a way that makes parents feel like they have another thing to do, we really educate them to understand that it's stuff they're already doing that counts as in kind, but there's a gap. Number one, they don't know that it counts. And number two, there's no real formalized way for them to tell us about when they do these activities. When we have a tea party and we pretend play, that counts as in kind, especially if your child's individualized learning plan has anything social emotional attached to it. When we're counting with our child, when we're doing the homework assignments or the packets or worksheets that come home from the center, of course, we know that counts. But when we're reading bedtime stories, when we're singing songs at bath time, when we're narrating through the grocery store, all of those things count as in kind. And so all of a sudden, parents they don't feel like, oh my gosh, you're putting another thing on my plate. Now they feel like, wait a second, I'm doing those. That's what it takes to count for in kind. Then I'm on board. And so when we get into the system, which we're about to do in just a second, I'm going to show you how all of these things will come together. But one last thing about how, if you did decide to engage with Kindly, that we're going to assist, is everything that I just talked about. We actually provide one-on-one customized for your organization with you. So we go through a whole entire implementation process where you get TNTA for your administrators and for your entire staff. So there's a pre-kickoff call, there's 4 trainings. And then after we have all of those nuts and bolts in place, I mean, we're going to really walk alongside you. We're going to help you assess your current system. We're going to help you look at these 4 E's and see how you're implementing them. And then we're going to help you build the systems around it. We're going to get so granular in that we're also going to help update your policies and procedures, because when monitoring comes out, you're going to want to be able to show them that your new system aligns with your policies and procedures. So we're going to even update your policies and procedures during this implementation time that we're working with you, if you decide that Kindly is a solution for your organization. And then we're going to go live. And what does go live look like? Let's check it out. I'm going to pop over to our website. Actually, there we are, kindlyhub.com. And we are going to, I just want to pop you through some of the, things I just said, all of the things that Kindly can help you do. And I want to just bring your attention to one thing in particular, this compliance part. So Kindly was monitored 3 times, and I don't want to say passed with flying colors, but essentially everything that the system needs to meet the federal regulations was there. Every box that needed to be ticked, from the way the donations are collected, the parent signature, the audit trails that we have, the approval processes that are built into the system, they all meet OHS regulations. And you can find all that information right on our homepage. And then if you wanted to log into the system, you're just going to click this button over here. I'm logged in already, so I'm just going to click log in. I'm going to come over here, log in. I'm going to I'm going to log into our test parent sandbox so you get a chance to see exactly what it looks like when a parent logs in. This is what they'll see. They have a little dash, a little profile page that they land on. And then you click on my dashboard and they have a dashboard where their students are. So our parent today is Wilma Flintstone. She's our volunteer and she has 2 kids, Pebbles and Bam Bams, who are in the system. And as you can see, the family is listed here. And then each of the children have their own individual readiness goals. You can also see that this username is test parent. And you could also click on these to view the students' profiles. And then here's where the parent will click to add an in-kind donation. So I'm just going to scroll back over here. We have the agency, the location, the classroom of each child, the family, the readiness goal. And then all they have to do is click here to add some in-kind. Now, before we add our first in-kind donation, though, I want to bring to this readiness goals column to your attention. You can see that both children have different readiness goals, but they have one in common that is called global. So global includes reading because reading logs are universal. We know that, we've already established that. And it also includes classroom packets. Now, classroom packets can cover any curriculum that you're using. Ready Rosie, if you're using TSG, if you're Bergantz, whatever it is, universally will fit into that global category. And I see a question and I'm going to come to that question in just a second, Maria. So hold tight to that one for me. But the different readiness goals can be programmed by the agency, and I'm going to show you where you do that when we log in as an agency manager. But let's just look at add an in-kind donation. This is the form, and you have 5 different types of forms in the system, 3 for parents, and then 2 expanded. So when you look at, let's just pick parent time for doctor's visits. I want to see in the chat, how many of you guys count doctor's visits as in-kind for your agency? Just type yes. We do. Yes. Okay. A few no's. So some agencies count parent time for doctor's visits, and you would count this if your agency would provide transportation to a doctor's appointment if the parent couldn't get there. If you have family advocates or anybody who would take a family to a WIC appointment or to a doctor's visit, then you can count when a parent does it themselves. And so if they went for a doctor's visit, let's just use that as an example. We can even count the mileage, say that was 13 miles, and we did a well baby check. And it took us 2.5 hours. Then the parent would just complete that, come down here, they would sign it. And it's my very bad Wilma Flintstone handwriting. And they would save it. And so now our in-kind donation has been submitted. They could do that from a phone. They could do that from a tablet, a computer, or any other device. So now let's add an in-kind donation for Bam Bam. This time we're gonna do parent time with kids. And then I'm going to actually now select an activity. Now, remember when you saw Bam Bam's readiness goals, physical was one of them, and social emotional. So he's going to have a different drop-down menu than Pebbles did because Pebbles had different goals. So I'm just going to leave this up for a second so that you can see some of the activities that show up here. We find that this is also very helpful for parents because it gives them some ideas of different things that they could be doing that counts as in-kind that they maybe didn't realize counted as in-kind. And then, of course, if you scroll down to the bottom, you have your global reading together and completing classroom assignments together. So I'm going to come up here to reading together, and I'm going to say we read Good Night Moon. And I'm going to say we did that for 14 minutes. And we're scrolling past it pretty quickly, but don't miss that all of this is pre-populated. The parent doesn't have to enter their name, their agency, their location, their classroom every time. It's all pre-populated. All they do is enter the information, and then they're going to come down here. They're going to sign. They can type their signature as well. If they don't have if they're not able to have a touch screen or use the draw signature pad, and then they'll save it. So we're going to come back up here, and I'm going to look at one other category. Let's look at completing a classroom assignment together. So let's say you guys are using, I've seen all kinds of different curriculum, but let's say you're doing Ready Rosie, and the activity that they're doing is called Walk and Jump with Me. So then the parent would just then type that in the description and submit, and you now receive as an agency an update that an in-kind donation has been submitted, and it was for Bam Bam. It was the type of donation was parent time with kids, the date, the activity type, and then the description. And this description can be updated to say Brigance, it can say TSG, it can say whatever curriculum or homework packet assignment that you sent home, you can have them to put it there in the description. And when you run the report, you'll be able to see in the description column what exactly that looks like. The other thing, the other type of donation that can be made is a parent volunteer time. So instead of Ready Rosie in the description, now I'm going to type policy council meeting. And on this form, you'll notice there's mileage again, right? So now with this volunteer form, we can capture literally any kind of volunteer activity. Is it policy council meeting? Is it a parent training that they attended? Is it a socialization? Is it they came to help out in the classroom for the day? Whatever that activity is, it can be captured in this parent volunteer form. And it makes it very easy for you to explain to parents how to submit their donations, because there's really, one of three forms that they would choose, and or they could also donate goods and services. The other person in your agency that might track goods and services is somebody on your fiscal team. Maybe you received a donation. Maybe you have a lease in a building where you get the lease for free, and you have space in a local elementary school or something. You could track that lease amount here. You would just put in the value, and then you would describe, this is our lease at Summerhill Elementary, right? You could also track equipment donations, goods, or services. So all of those could be tracked in there as well on that form. And then you have the community partner form. Now, I saw somebody in the chat say one of the things that's challenging is all the different values. So community partner is that place where you could add associated different values. So maybe this is a therapist who's coming to do therapy with a child. You could set a value for that community partner visit, and that would be different from your parent in-kind donation. And this form would capture it at that different value. And they would do that behind the scenes. They don't have to do that. They could put it in the description if need be, but you can pre-set up things to drop down on this menu. So speech therapy is already programmed with a certain dollar amount attached to it. So that way we can now track those things that have different values. You could even associate these things with different grants if you have multiple grants. So those are the different ways that we can see and track in kind externally, meaning this is what the parents see. I want to just log out of here for a second because I'm going to give you a quick peek into what it looks like for the agency. And then I'm going to pause and take some questions, okay? So test agency manager, of course, our test agency manager is none other than Betty Rubble, right? And Betty's going to see when she logs in a profile page that says, you know, she's with Head Start at Bedrock, and this will take her to a summary profile page. She can also see a very high level, very quickly snapshot of reports. This was probably my favorite part. Can I just pause here for 1 second? When I was able to log in and see in real time what I had generated, what our agency, where we were sitting with in-kind, it was phenomenal. Because otherwise, there would be times when we were a month behind in processing all the forms that were on our data manager's desk. And imagine, right? Forms coming in from 15 locations from almost 600 parents that had to go to the teacher, go to the center director, go to the family advocate who brought it to our headquarters to give it to the data manager. And please don't let that form be filled out wrong. Please let all the math be right, and please let it be signed, because otherwise then it has to go back the other way. I even heard, talked to an agency recently who in COVID now is having their families take pictures of those forms and text the picture to the teacher. So imagine that flow happening via text message and then trying to, you know, add it all up. I mean, we're getting creative, right, with how we're processing this because we are virtual and we are in a pandemic. But imagine being able to click a button and log in and see in real time how many hours, how many miles, how much goods and services we have generated in real time. And then being able to see this year to date, right? You can see the growth, right? We started in August and now we're steadily growing with that in-kind. I remember when this first started, I was still working in Las Vegas, and you know, Las Vegas, it's the city of casinos. And I would tell my staff, you guys, I feel like I have a slot machine on my desk, except for it never loses. Every time I log in, this thing is just going up and up and up and up. And we're able to see how that in-kind is growing. Then you can click over to your dashboard. And in the dashboard, you're going to be able to manage your donations. So if you recall, we just put in a few donations for Pebbles just a few moments ago. And you can see here when we go across here that our first activity was a well baby check, and we spent 2.5 hours there. We can see the rate that's pre-programmed in the system for that donation. We see it was a drawn signature. And we can come over and we can view that, but I'm going to come back to that because first I want to sign off on it. Uh-oh, I pushed the wrong button. I got us back to our tab. So let me go back to the dashboard, manage donations. And so what you see here is we have some pending donations and we have some that are already approved. So the great thing about efficiency and making this easy is I can see as the administrator all the details of this donation on this one screen, and I can approve it or reject it. So here's the approve function. I can also reject, and I can also bulk approve. So if I've looked at these and they all look good, I'll click these top 3. And I've already got this action over here to approve. I'm going to apply. And then I am also going to be able to sign. Remember, I am Betty Rubble. And I'm going to save that. And now I've bulk approved those donations. And just like that, we're done. We've got a submission, we've got an approval. And then if I come down here and I want to, you can see those status is now approved. I'm going to scroll all the way over and I'm going to view the in-kind donation record. This is important because this is what we would print out if a monitor came and they said, yes, we want to see your in-kind donations. Well, this is the record. And you can also see that it has been signed by the parent and by the agency manager. You see the audit trail there at the bottom. And if it is rejected, there will be rejection codes. So it will tell us why, meaning you will be able to, the center director, whoever's rejecting it, to tell the parent, this was too long, this was a duplicate, this was developmentally inappropriate. All kinds of codes are already in the system. It goes back to the parent's dashboard where they can then edit it and resubmit it, just like that. So this is that donation record. And now we see that it has been approved. I'm going to go back now to my dashboard where I can see everything else I might need to manage. I can manage students here. And let's say I wanted to edit Allison. I'm going to pull up her file. Oh, not Allison. I'm in a little sandbox, so not everything is live here. Let's see. I could edit Allison and it will pull up her donation record. And I would, nope, not active, not linked up right now. Sorry about that. Well, you can pull up the donation record and then you can see there how you want to edit. So maybe if I wanted to change her readiness goals, I could do it by editing here. I can also manage my families on this dashboard. I can manage my staff on this dashboard. I could manage my classes and locations. So really anything that needed to get sort of managed or adjusted, I can do it all from this dashboard. And then of course, I have my reports tab up there and then my profile. So that really is kind of the big picture. Oh, one last thing I should show you. When I go to reports, and I go to all in-kind donations, I can then generate reports, filter and generate reports by location, by grant number. And then I can export. I can just click export all in-kind donations, and that's going to generate a CSV. Your fiscal team is going to love you when they can log in and just click a button and download all of the in-kind donations for their report and filter that CSV however they need it. They're absolutely going to love you. And so that really does sort of cover. I just want to pop over to one last thing because I get this question a lot. And this is the parents page, remember, and this is what we click here to add in kind as a parent. But what if I don't speak English? Not to worry. If you go down to the bottom of the page, 109 languages to choose from. So let's just translate to Spanish because that is very popular. And just like that, your whole form is now translated to Spanish. And the parent then is able to, see and understand what it is that the form says. So I'm going to just click and push this back to English. Where is English? Because I can't spell. Uh-oh, my little Zoom bar is on top of my other bar. Here we go. Oh, 1 second. Here we go. Took English away from me. All right, so then we're back to English. So I'm going to stop my share and pull up the chat. I just saw your chat. I'm so sorry. Can you try Chinese? If you want, you can go to kindlyhub.com and that Google Translate is right in the bottom. You can try Chinese. It'll absolutely work for you. So it's 2:50. I want to just thank you so much for taking the time to spend with me today to hear about how I have put a system together that not only can help you improve family engagement, but also create another level of efficiency in terms of processing and administering in kind. Don't forget our 4 E's, right? We're going to educate. We're going to make it easy. We're going to explain how we're doing what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing. And I promise you that if you just do those 3 things alone, that you're going to see a vast improvement in terms of in-kind and in terms of family engagement. And then, of course, you add this overlay of a software that can support and bring all those pieces together in one hub. And I think you've got something quite magical going on. So before I open it up for Q&A, I just want to pop another poll up on the screen and just see what you think. What did you think? My feelings won't get hurt. We are totally, totally open to hear your thoughts, but would love to hear what you're thinking so far. And if you want to, feel free to type, that in the chat, any thoughts you might have about what you learned today. I hope it was helpful. And also feel free to type your questions in the chat. I'm going to start looking at the chat and getting some questions. So of course, there's a great question. What is the cost? That's a wonderful question. And that's a great place to start Q&A. So what we've done with Kindly, and I will actually, I'm just going to let the poll go first before I share my screen. So let's see. All right. Very helpful. We're landing it very helpful. I love it. And if you have some suggestions of how it could be more helpful, we got one person that said not so helpful. And one person said, 2 people said back to the drawing board. My email is, I'm going to put it in the chat. I would love to hear from you. kindlyhub.com. There we go. Love that 70% of y'all think this could be very helpful, and 20% of y'all think this is a game changer. I sure hope it is. As a person who, loves the families we serve and knows what it's like to be an administrator, I'm shooting for game changer. So that is absolutely the goal. I am going to share my screen once more just to answer your question about the cost. And so again, if we come back over here, we go over to our website, and this is, I'm going to pull this up because you can have all this information at kindlyhub.com. If you click on, and there it is translated into Spanish for us. And then since I have it up, let's just do Chinese since that was a request. Here we go. There you go. So it's the website that translates, the whole system actually translates. So we're going to go back to English. And if you go to our features page, then it's going to give you a breakdown of exactly what I just shared. There's an agency dashboard, there's a parent portal, and then there's this robust reporting that you get. And here's all the things that are going to be able to happen on your agency dashboard. Your parent portal, here are all the things that your parents can do. And then here are all of the features. So the way we built Kindly was a flat rate. We wanted to make sure that you were not, wondering, oh, what's my Kindly bill going to be for this month based on the number of donations or users or, any of those different things. And so we made this a unlimited use system, which means one flat rate covers unlimited records, unlimited storage, unlimited volunteers, no cap on how much money you can raise, and unlimited staff and volunteers in the system. We start, and that is really based on the footprint. So how big, how much real estate in the cloud do you need? And that generally is based on the size of your program. So depending on how large your program is or how small, that will determine the cost. The starting price for a program with 0 to 200 slots is going to start around $10,000, and then it goes up from there. If you would like a customized quote, I'd be happy to get one for you. And I'm going to just bring up the my contact information slide. And so let me also look into the chat. I like that you put it in any language. Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you. That was a necessity. You know, we serve so many different populations. We wanted to make sure to be inclusive of everyone. Is the website free to use? Is there a fee involved? So I just talked about the cost. And so that's the system cost. It starts at $10,000, depending on the size of your program. It goes up from there. That's an annual license fee. Going back to look, how many languages was in the chat as a question? And that was 107. So we have 107 languages. This does not overwhelm families doing this is the question. So actually, families find it very easy. It generally takes 2 minutes to submit an in-kind donation. They log in, they find their child's name, they click add in-kind donation, they decide if it, mostly it's going to be parent time with kids. They pull up the form, they type in the description, and then they literally sign and submit. The whole process takes 2 minutes tops for parents to do. And so they've actually found it to be very easy to submit the in-kind donation, which really increases their engagement because it's easy. They're not tracking down a form that they have to keep track of all week long. They can do it literally anytime, 24/7. They can access their Kindly system, and they can even do it from their cell phone. We found that part of the reason why the engagement increased so much was just because of how easy it is for the families to do. Any other questions? Any other questions? We've still got 4 minutes. You're welcome. I see. Thank you for the information. You're very welcome. 2019. So we started Kindly in 2019. Stephanie said, when did you start? So 2019 is when we got started. Let's see, what else? Any other questions? Are the reading books that parents read to children, do they need to align with our curriculum? No, they do not. So any reading that parents do will count as in-kind. Is this compatible with COPA or Class Plus? There aren't integrations right now, so it doesn't connect. But what happens is in that description box, parents can type in, any description. We do have a specialty report that Child Plus can generate for us. It's the Kindly report, and we give you the code to that report if you're using Child Plus. That's going to help us to download your students in the proper format to then upload into Kindly. So we make that upload, getting your system set up very easy if you have Child Plus in particular. If FAs drive families to the doctor, then when parents drive without, is that considered parent time? That is considered, they can count it as in-kind, and we call it parents doctor visit, parent time for doctor's visit. What if the agency bring doctor on site? Will this parent trip to the doctor also count? Oh, that's a good one. I hadn't heard that one before. I don't think so, because they have to come to the center anyway for school. So I don't think that if you bring the doctor and the parents come, that will count as in-kind. But I could check on that to be sure. And you can always email me at Jasmine@KindlyHub. There's my information on the screen again. Somebody said, what's your contact info? So there it is, Jasmine@KindlyHub.com. Can reports be pulled on a month basis? Yes, you can filter those reports by date, by grant, by classroom. Yes, they absolutely can. You're welcome. Thank you for the info. You're welcome. Wonderful. Thank you. Can we count in-kind when their parents are participating during the Zoom session with the children? It depends. So generally, no. That's just like you can't count if they come to a socialization with their child. But if they come to the socialization and they ran a table or an activity, then you could count that. All right. Fong Nguyen says, thanks. I learned a lot today. You're welcome. When they have 2 or more children, is a 1 entry for each child. It is 1 entry per child because each child has their own readiness goals. And so that is going to customize each child's form. So yes, it is 1 per child. And remember, those forms are aligned with ELOF, with the Early Learning Outcomes Framework for Head Start. So that's already done for you. You don't have to worry about, where they came and how they're aligned. It's 3 o'clock. We're out of time. Thank you guys so much. And if you need anything at all, Jasmine at kindlyhub.com. Check out kindlyhub.com/demo. And please feel free to let us know if there's any way we can support you at all. I hope this was helpful.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much, Jasmine, for the wonderful presentation. And thanks, everybody, for your participation. This was great. A lot of back and forth in the chat, which is definitely what we want out of this session. So just a few reminders before we wrap up. I know we are kind of at the top of the hour, but just so you know, today's webinar session was recorded, and we'll make it available early next week for on-demand access. So once the recording is ready for access, you will be able to find it on our YouTube channel. Registered participants, everybody who registered to attend this session will receive 2 follow-up emails. One email will arrive in the next 5 minutes or so, which will contain a certificate of participation for your PD hours. I know there are a few of you that were asking for a certificate, so keep an eye for that email coming out in the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes or so. And then the second email will go out next week, which is the one containing the link to the recording in our YouTube channel. So keep an eye for that. So a recording and a certificate will be provided to you in the next couple of hours or so. Once again, thank you, Jasmine, for your time and participation today on our session. And then thanks, everybody, for taking the time. And we hope to see you on the next one. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and have a good weekend, okay? Thanks, everybody.